Cinematic techniques have been used in many different ways from different places around the world. You see, when you're filming an action scene, you'll notice a cinematic technique being used often, shaky cam. And it's funny how the man who pioneered shaky cam was the director of the Bourne trilogy. And he pioneered this amazing technique that is now being abused, much like George Lucas pioneered modern day CGI in film. And now that's being abused. George got condemned for pioneering ambitious technology, and the director of Bourne gets praise, even though they abuse both in Hollywood. That's interesting. Just something I noticed. Well, anyway, cinematic techniques are used quite frequently in filmmaking. One technique especially is shaky cam. Shaky cam is used to inhibit the tension of action on film, but it was also used in another critically acclaimed show, Breaking Bad. This inhibits a sense of anxiety for the world and atmosphere. This technique has been used for so long. And in a way, it's been abused. You see, shaky cam has been used in many action scenes. When directors film action, they used to use so much shaky cam, you can't even tell what the hell is going on in the scene. What the hell is going on here? When directors film action, they too use so much shaky cam, you can't even tell what the hell is even going on in this scene. What the hell is going on here? This is why when you see martial arts films and movies, they film the entirety of action. When you see a movie directed by Stanley Kubrick or the man who directed the movie The Revenant, you see intense action-filled shots, with either being filmed all in one take or it's filmed without heavy use of shaky cam. And punches if used well. It can add to the effect and make a scene feel more intense, and you can feel more of what's going on. It's incredible. Cinematic techniques have been used for quite some time. They have a lot. If you've ever seen Quentin Tarantino, let's see, Reservoir Dogs, you notice he has powerful pan shots and moments that build character in subtle ways. Quentin has a sense of subtlety with his technique, but he also adds just enough flair and personality to keep it unique. He has a unique style. Kubrick is cold, calculative, but puts just enough substance and personality and depth in the right areas, making everything subtle and have nuance and depth behind it. Every technique tells the story for you. It shows you and doesn't really have to say anything. It's engaging, immersive, and makes you feel more grounded in the experience. See, it shows and doesn't tell. When I say every technique tells the story for you, shows you and doesn't really tell, that's what I mean. It doesn't have to say anything, it just shows you everything. So whatever it's showing you is what says everything. He shows, he doesn't just tell. So these directors have done a phenomenal job of using cinematic techniques. Now in Hollywood, however, they are abusing a lot of these, such as CGI. CGI is ambitious technology and can be used to create worlds that otherwise are not possible or too expensive to show on screen. So CGI helps with that. However, they use so much of it that when you see an action scene, take the MCU for instance, they don't always feel real. A lot of times they feel so fake and take you out of the experience because they use and abuse a boatload of CGI even when they don't need to. The same way they accuse George Lucas of, but you actually see that happening in Hollywood. When the early 2000s Star Wars movies were made, that was earlier in CGI's lifespan, so they had to use it. Instead of using props and hiring hundreds of people for large battles, that would not be possible. It would be insane. They'd have to use CGI at that point. So it's different. You got Francis Ford Coppola. Some of the best cinematic gems ever made came out of this man. He's made masterpiece after masterpiece, from Apocalypse Now, Heart of Darkness adaptation, to Godfather Part 2, Godfather Part 2 being my favorite movie of all time. It is a masterclass of cinematic storytelling. It's a flawless movie. There is not a single flaw in its execution, its storytelling, and its characterization. Building on what made the first Godfather so great, and turning it into an interwoven story that was ultimately the better movie. You see, Kubrick has a certain style. He's cold, calculative, he's meticulous. Every angle has a purpose. Every aspect of his films, characters, and cinematic techniques all serve a purpose. All have a meaning behind it. These techniques have changed over the years. New directors use new techniques and even CGI. It's incredible. Some films have even become some of the best ever made and of our time. However, some have made me feel like, damn, what happened to movies? We used to get films with great storytelling, some amazing cinematography, and they looked and felt real, getting you into the characters and their world. Now they feel so fake, full of CGI all the time, breaking immersion. They're made so quickly, then there's huge periods of time where there's no good movie coming out. It's so disappointing what it's become these days. That's why Martin Scorsese, he stated that the MCU really isn't all that. I could understand where he's coming from. I wouldn't say it's not real film. Hell no. I love DC movies. That's cinematic filmmaking right there. And I love the old Marvel movies. I wouldn't say that it's not real film. I wouldn't say that it's not real filmmaking. I just say it's not as good or as full of substance like the first two Spider-Mans or the X-Men movies. These films were amazing as hell. Even Blade. These films were amazing. Hell, even Blade. That pioneered the action and even special effects you would later see in Matrix. That was really good, especially Blade 2. I love the older Marvel films. They were fantastic. The new ones just seem like they want to, fit into the next movie, into the cinematic universe. It was better when they focused on standalone stories and focused on building on those that just happened to be in a connected universe. Look at the difference of Marvel and DC. One is more intense and way up there, with charming and witty characters. The other is gritty and more realistic and intense with their characters. They have a totally different viewpoint of their characters. When I see Batman Begins, or The Dark Knight, or The Dark Knight Rises, it's like night and day. That's nothing like the MCU. The MCU just doesn't get me like that. The realism, the cinematic storytelling, the excellent writing, and cinematography is outstanding. The MCU is really fun. They seem more fun-oriented. I don't normally take it serious or get immersed in that realistic sense. With DC, that's quite different. So I can relate to what Martin Scorsese said, and that's what I'm laying down. And this was Tarragon. Take with it as you will. Talking about cinemas. Well, I'm out this piece, and thank you for watching.